What's up, guys? Welcome back to Malt Mondays. So a few weeks ago I reviewed the Aberlour 12-year-old, and that is one of my favorite 12-year-old single malts, or at least it was for a very long time, but the price of it has kind of gone up relative to the other 12-year-old sherried speyside single malts, and I don't feel that the quality quite justifies the price anymore. So although I do think it's good whiskey, I think there's some better buys if that's what you're looking for, is that some bourbon influence, some sherry influence on your whiskey from a speyside. I think there's some better options now, but that's not to say that it's not very good. So the 18-year-old is what I'm going to be looking at today. It runs for about $100 to $110, and it sits right at that same price range as the Glenfiddich 18-year-old and the Glenmorangie 18-year-old, which I feel like is kind of the sweet spot for 18-year-old whiskeys. Some of the other brands have gotten extraordinarily expensive, even double that pricing like the Macallan has, and at some point you have to be able to differentiate, okay, yeah, the 18 years isn't inherently what's making the quality. Age statement isn't everything. There are plenty of bad age statement whiskeys that aren't as good as ones with younger age statements, but it's a good barometer for quality versus price generally. And you have to be a little bit wary when you're looking at a brand that's charging twice what its competitors are for the same age product. Is it really twice as good? Probably not, but that's up to the consumer to decide. So Aberlour is in the speyside. It's right near Macallan, Glenfiddich, and the way they do their whiskeys is not a barrel finishing. What they actually do is similar to Glenmorangie 18-year-old, is they age the whiskey, a certain portion of it, in ex-bourbon casks for 18 years, and a certain portion of it is aged in sherry barrels for 18 years, and then those two are blended together. So this gives the distillery the ability to finely tune the influence of sherry on the whiskey and really get the exact flavor that they're looking for, more so than doing a finishing in a sherry cask where you take it out of the ex-bourbon barrels and put it in sherry casks for a certain amount of time. There's not as much control over how much influence the sherry has there. So I've been letting this sit in my glass for about 15 minutes or so, and about a minute per year is a good estimate with these older whiskeys. And right away, we can assume that even though Aberlour doesn't say that there's no artificial coloring, that they're probably not adding too much, because this isn't really that much darker than like a Highland Park 18. It might even be lighter than a Highland Park 18. So even though only a portion of it's done in the sherry casks, this probably hasn't had too much artificial coloring, but it does have some. The other thing I want to point out is that this is bottled at 43% ABV, which is great. Aberlour does that with their 12-year-old. Their Abuna is cask strength, so they really like to give the consumer the extra whiskey in the bottle at every level of their product. So let's see how this smells. So the first impression that I get of this is orange and sherry. The orange really comes through quite strongly. It's almost like a burnt orange peel. And that's not something that's present in the 12-year-old. So if you're interested in seeing how whiskey changes from a 12 to an 18-year-old, Aberlour is not exactly the best representation of that, because they are doing that blending. It's not the exact same liquid that's just being left for 6 more years, but it is still being made in a very similar process, and it's interesting to see the extra flavors and aromas that come out in the 18-year-old versus the 12. The 12 had many of these same sherry notes, but this gets butterscotch, a creaminess to it that's not present in the 12-year-old. I can definitely smell the oak in this. On the back end, there's a little bit of almost like a toffee note And even, I would almost call it apricot coming through. It's quite complex. So we'll see how this tastes. Wow. That's very full flavored. You get a huge impact of zest from the orange flavor, really like coating with that sherry, the insides of your mouth, and it fades into milk chocolate. There's a little bit of dryness from the oak, but not that much. There's a little bit of spice there, and I'm actually kind of surprised. It doesn't seem like, even though this is 18 years, that it's really completely mellowed out all those rough edges. You know, this wouldn't handle 46% very well. That would be quite hot. And I feel like normally most 18-year-olds could handle that extra proof pretty easily, but this one's got just a touch of roughness to it still. And at $100, that really shouldn't be there, but it's not extraordinarily so. It's a little bit spice from that European sherry oak, and it's a little bit of roughness. But overall, the flavors that you're getting and the number of flavors that you're getting, the complexity, the balance that you're getting here is really quite nice. So I can easily forgive them just a hint of roughness around the edges. I would really like to get an Aberlour 21-year-old though, maybe priced at like $150. And I think that would really be like the last little bit of aging that this needs to mellow out. Or I would like to see Aberlour invest in some slightly higher quality casks. You know, there's something to be said for the fact that it's not just the age that matters in how the whiskey transforms. A lot of it has to do with the quality of the barrels that they're using. And that's not to say that Aberlour is using bad barrels. I'm sure they're not. But there's overall been a shortage of quality casks in the whiskey industry just due to the extreme boom in production that's gone on recently. That there's definitely something to be said that the quality of casks has diminished a little bit. There aren't as many high quality sherry casks specifically available anymore, just because the sherry industry has not grown exponentially the way the whiskey industry has. So I'm going to give this, man, the nose is so complex and the flavor is really, really nice. There's just those hints of roughness. I think I'm going to go 90 points with this. This is excellent. It's very good, but I wouldn't pay more than $100 for it. There's something still just a little bit that needs work on in this whiskey. I would be much more comfortable going for an extra $20 for an Highland Park 18-year-old at this price point, assuming you can find it at that price point. A lot of times it's $150, which I feel like is pushing it. Or I think I would suggest you maybe see how you feel about the Aberlour 16-year-old, which is about $80, $75, $80. And if you're impressed with that, then go for this. Because if you like the Aberlour 12 a lot, you're going to love this. It's a slightly different flavor profile. There's some apricots going on in here, some toffee. A little bit, not toffee like you get in a bourbon or something, is very subtle, but there's definitely some different flavors and aromas coming out here than you would normally get in a 12-year-old. So it's very interesting to see that extra age bring out those new flavors. And it's really quite delicious whiskey. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to post a link to that right here. And up here, I'm going to post a link to the Aberlour 12 video that I did a few weeks ago. If you've tried the Aberlour 18-year-old and you like it, or if you don't, please leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts about it. And make sure you come back next week for more videos. Thanks for watching.